Alright, we ain't living in a good world. We're just not. We're choosing who we believe is right and wrong based on their looks, based on their gender, based on their skin color. We got these different groups of folks who all want justice for the crimes committed against them. And they all want to hate a bunch of other groups who also want justice for the crimes committed against them. And they're all frustrated and going at each other's throats, but they can't do anything. So they need a scapegoat. People wanted to treat me like I was a predator when I wasn't. They wanted to pretend like I wasn't trying because they refused to help. Look at how many times I went to the police before this. Look at the situations where they pretended that they would help later on. Look at the help that they gave me. To lie about me, to manipulate others, to turn off their body cameras. In every single one of these situations, police obstructed justice. Look at that video where I'm talking to those police in Wyoming and I'm trying to explain to them what's going on. Literally, the way that they grossly reinterpreted it so that they could prevent me from having the evidence on that computer to fucking take those goddamn cops to court in Colorado. I was explaining to those son of a bitches that there was evidence on those computers in that vehicle of fucking child molesters and rapists. And look at the way those fucking cops treated me. You make excuses for it. You make excuses for them. I told you for years and years how cops treat the homeless nationwide. But you don't fucking care. You're too busy victimizing the homeless and blaming them too. You go home, cushion your bed, and then you call the fucking cops because you see somebody walking through the neighborhood with a backpack looking for a place to go to fucking sleep. And then he gets beat up or fucking shot by the goddamn cops. And unlike when they do it to a black person, there is no BLM who gives a fuck. See, here's the biggest issue that I have with BLM. There are officers, specific officers and departments by name. These names I had spoken hundreds of times. Hundreds. I spoke about Clearview. I said Clearview at least 100 times before they killed Tibor Hatay. The things that the news had to say about Clearview are the same things that I said months and months and months, and in some occasions, years earlier. But they pretend that I didn't say it. The evidence is on this fucking YouTube. It's on my Facebook. I tried to explain to everybody that I knew, hey, yeah, you've been telling me that I'm the smartest person you know. I'm the most honest person you know. I'm the best man you know. Really? Really? Then why did you not speak up in a fucking court of law? When I went to you for help, before Natalie was fucking killed, how did you fucking treat me? Did you talk to me like a human being? Or are you too busy fucking spitting pretty words at me? A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. No, hold on a second. People are assaulting me over shit I fucking didn't do. Stuff your advice and help me put a stop to this. Well, there's nothing I can do. Yes, there is. Look, help. They say I can't. But later on, when something fucking tiny happens, somehow magically, they do know how to do that. They are able to do that. They prevented me from showing evidence to this day by preying on my disabilities, by calling me mentally ill and pretending that I'm schizophrenic, because then it justifies them not looking at the evidence. No, I am telling you that crimes were committed against me. The problem is that they're not going to do their job without my guardian present, and I don't have one. I'm expected to be my own guardian because of my intelligence, but they can deny my intelligence at any point in time by calling me mentally ill, which is why I need a guardian. Someone in person, someone in person who knows me. You're telling me to go to these professionals that I've already gone to, and they were ineffective. All they did was waste your taxpayer dollars. But the help that I went to them for, that they promised me if I jumped through all of these hoops, that I would get that help. I never got that help, but they got paid. They still got paid, by God. We're going to help you, Sean. We're going to help you, Sean. But you didn't follow through. You fucking half-assed it and you left me fucking hanging. Tamara quit her job because her son has Asperger's. And she wanted to make sure that the shit that I went through didn't happen to her son. This is a woman from Longmont who knows that this shit is really the way that it is. Look at the position that she was working in. But also look at her qualifications versus the qualifications of Jen Beebe, who is the woman who replaced her. Jen Beebe is not qualified. Just like those people at Clearview. They're not fucking qualified. If I say it, I'm a liar and a manipulator. But if the news says it, then it must be true. But even though the news said it and it must be true, I must still be a liar because I said it. Same thing with Waylon Lolotai. Same thing with that woman who killed her own son a year to the day after Natalie was killed. You know, I spoke out about all of those places before any of those deaths. Before that woman killed her son, I spoke out about the situation at Sally Trion's. I had to speak out to Miss Jerry, and I had to speak out on the internet best I could. But also, and that's the only place that you have to be afraid of turning those people in while you're there. They don't understand that them screaming all the time. They're like, "Oh well, can you handle some noise?" Like, no, not really. A little bit, yeah. Well, we're a pretty loud family. Well, that's all right as long as it's not hateful and not all the time. But then it was hateful and it was all the time. It was just drama. The good thing is that I still have most of the evidence, especially of the shit right at the beginning, and I know where the rest of the evidence is. But the other problem is that by denying me the right, see, by denying me the right to turn in my abusers, by refusing me the right to turn in my predators, by calling me mentally ill, Look at how much paperwork I have already shown you on here that I turned in all of these places about the abuse that I was enduring, as well as testament and testimony, both written and oral, from witnesses. But I'm not allowed to show it in court because they call me mentally ill, and it means no matter what, I must be wrong. I must be schizophrenic. These officers preyed on that heavy, and I told you that they would. The police do not treat those at the bottom the same as they treat those at the top. America is supposed to be founded on equality, right? These programs are supposed to be in place specifically for people like me who don't have families who give a shit. But then they won't help me unless I have family come in. The help that they're supposed to help me with because I don't have family who gives a shit. They ask me, well, don't you have family that you can go to for help with this? No, I don't. Well, why don't you ask that guy that you're staying with? Well, because he's always fucking depressed. He's been going through hell of his own. And that's not all of your business. But it does affect me. It does mean that I can't get help from him. I've asked. He says, I'm overwhelmed. I can't handle the shit that I got going on. And I am expected to understand that. And I do. I absolutely do. Meanwhile, I'm going through 100 times more shit than he is with way less. I am also grateful for everything that he has fucking done for me. I am by no means saying that he is a bad person for being depressed, for having his own problems and his own issues, for him having his own fears of what will happen to him if he comes forward. And then there's the ultimate fact that he does think about his family first, as rightly so he should. And with most of these people, that's the thing, is that they were protecting their families from my predators, or at least attempting to. The problem is that they were promising to come forward, promising to speak up, promising to go in with me, and not keeping their word, not following through. I'm not allowed to follow through. They will not allow me to follow any of this to fruition. They will use the illegal and immoral laws that they created for those deemed mentally ill. When you try to turn in a cop, the first thing that they want to do is tag you with mentally ill. The first thing they are going to do is take you to a hospital, and that hospital is going to give those cops exactly what they want. Those hospital staff are not going to listen to you. They are going to write down what the police officers said, and those nursing staff are going to look at that as if it is absolute fact set in stone. The problem with that is that you're trying to turn in these officers for abuse. And the only people you are allowed to turn them into, because apparently it is nobody else's goddamn job, is the very officers who abused you. Yeah, they're gonna fucking laugh at that. And then they're gonna drive you to Scottsbluff, to a different jurisdiction, where you can't write a report against them. They're gonna lie to those hospital staff to cover their own ass, and you're gonna be injected with drugs. Because you needed a police officer to do their job. Now you are being injected with drugs because of the slander from one professional to another. At this point, the people at the hospital are now breaking the law, and whether they were willing or unwilling participants, They were, in fact, still participants in this conspiracy to cover the wrongdoing of these officers. Jews should not have to go to Nazis to get help. Your hatred and bias towards the homeless and towards the disabled. Did you know that you are more likely to get violent than a mentally ill person? Did you know that? Most mentally ill people are only violent when backed into a goddamn corner, and who the fuck wouldn't be? And even then, we have to exercise more restraint. We know what it feels like to have a 300-pound man put his knee on your back or on your neck and you can't fucking breathe. We know what it's like to have somebody try to break your fucking arm until you're squirming because your arm is in excruciating pain. Then they say, "What?" I'm sure you guys know the answer to this one. Stop resisting. I'm not resisting. You're trying to break my goddamn arm. Jeannie Bell Black typed, "The cops broke my son's arm last time he was arrested." Hi, Jeannie Bell Black. She typed, "Hi, Sean." The thing is that had I been listened to about those officers in Boulder before I ever met Natalie, something could have been done then. Instead, those officers were allowed to victimize me and my loved ones, many who are in the fucking ground now. Victimized down to nothing. You got no idea how many women turned in their abusers. They did the right thing. They turned in their abusers or their children's abusers. It just so happened that they were dating or married to these son of a bitches and they couldn't afford the fucking rent by themselves. Then they're treating like they're bad fucking mothers. One of them, the very same fucking officer that she had been singing his praises. 3 months later, when she's out on her ass, her kids are in the fucking system now, having to go through the same shit that I had to go through in that very same system, those very same goddamn facilities. And she's telling me this story, and I'm not supposed to cry. Boys don't cry. I feel for her because I have literally been there. I have literally been to Centennial Peaks. Jeannie Bell Black type, "Boys can cry, it's okay." No, it's not. We are punished for it. Don't tell me that it's okay to do something that people are gonna hurt me for doing. Boys are not allowed to have emotions. That is why they start committing suicide at 5 times the rate of girls, starting at the age of 15. You just need to man up. Whether you're disabled or not, it doesn't matter. I know you're sorry. A lot of people are sorry. Please speak up. I'm glad I could encourage a lot of people to tell their own stories. Chapel, Nebraska is a terrible place. When I compare it to that ghost town in Ghost Rider with that deed for all them souls, it reminds me of Chapel, Nebraska. All the mean fucking drama hound motherfuckers all work together. And the supposedly good people, like, got the fucking balls to stand up to them. They're so afraid that they'll treat anybody like shit who does stand up to these son of a bitches. Sandy Fromm's mom was a good woman. She was. She had a good reputation, too. I can't blame her mom for Sandy's choices any more than I can blame KK for Christopher Kurth's choices. KK didn't make Chris Kurth assault me. But then again, Chris Kurth didn't assault me. When I'm talking about assaults, I'm talking about physical assaults. I'm not talking about name calling. You guys pretend like I'm a bad person because I name call the motherfuckers who are doing this shit to me. I should have the right to do so. You pretend I'm a bad person because I curse and I name call back. That's the part you're always missing out on. I name call back. You didn't care when these people called me names, did you? When these people pretended like I might hurt someone, you actually hurt me. Repeatedly. Over fucking rumors. No day in court. And you got away with it by calling me mentally ill. And I explained to every one of these people, you need to come forward. I need a guardian present. I don't have one. This is what's going to happen if you don't come forward. And then when those people promised that they were going to, promised they were going to write it down, promised they were going to speak to these people, and I've sent this stuff out. And I've collected this evidence, and I gave it to people who supposedly loved me, supposedly were going to come forward, and supposedly were going to keep this stuff safe. Ah, restricted number again. I guess restricted number is probably my best friend right now. At least restricted number is consistent. That's something to look at. My predators are consistent and relentless. For me to defend myself, I have to be as persistent and relentless as they are. But I also have to be a perfect person while doing this, while they are allowed to get away with whatever they want. Oh, these people are actually committing those crimes? Well, it's okay because of what happened to Natalie. No, it's not. It's not okay for the police to victimize me and for the Bollinger family to victimize me and for these fucking web groups to victimize me and the news to make me a target for millions of people who are looking for someone to take their aggression out on. Someone that they feel that they will get away with doing it to. And who better than someone who is literally showing the abuse that they're going through on the internet live for the whole world to see, and still nobody's doing a goddamn thing except saying, I'm sorry. Jeannie Bell Black is typing some stuff, and it seems like she needs to get some stuff out, and I'm gonna read it. Jeannie Bell Black typed, yep, my husband beat me daily. Boys can cry, it's okay. I'm sorry, my friend. She typed, I'm mentally ill too. I have schizophrenia and bipolar. You are not mentally ill. Mentally ill is a blanket excuse for harm. You are schizophrenic. You are bipolar. And those are both considered mental illnesses. I want you to know, first of all, that 40% of people who are diagnosed with schizophrenia in the United States are not. They're not. Do you know that poor people are more likely to get diagnosed with schizophrenia than rich people? How odd is that? You're not mentally ill. Toss that word out of your vocabulary, except to diminish it and to depose that fucking word from its goddamn throne. The word mentally ill is the king that our predators worship. The term mentally ill is the term that is used to deny us our human rights. The fact that you're bipolar and schizophrenic means that your predators can get away with doing whatever they want and calling you mentally ill. Mentally ill is always an insult. Do not accept that term and do not accept that treatment. If you are raped, you are raped. The least they can do is administer a rape kit. If they refuse you a rape kit by calling you mentally ill, there is a major problem there. Also, you have the diagnosis that are literally the diagnosis that they create that for. Because then anybody with a disability, they can pretend are schizophrenic and bipolar, and that is what mentally ill means. That is what 99% of the American public looks at and thinks first. And you pound the victims and pound the victims and pound the victims. And if you pound those victims enough, eventually they'll fucking spout your rhetoric. Eventually those victims will say, yes, I was the bad guy. Yes, I deserve the beating. Thank you for showing me the error of my ways. I was in the wrong and I know that now, and I deserve the abuse that I got. They only abused me because they loved me and they wanted to look out for my best interest. Oh my God. These people who told me for years, dude, you're the smartest dude I know. You are probably the most sane person I've ever met. You are the most honest person I know. And all it took was one rumor for these people to pretend I don't exist. It took one rumor to force me to have to break the law to defend myself because nobody fucking cared. They were too busy dispensing advice. When they needed help, I helped them, and they figured they'll help me by dispensing advice. Hey, dude, that's not the way that it works, okay? Maybe that's the way that it works for you, but that's not the way that it works when you're called mentally ill and it's just you who has to go in, which is what you were telling me to do. You were telling me to walk into the lion's den and have faith that they are not going to tear me apart. And I have that faith. And I walk in there and they tear me apart. You say your faith wasn't strong enough. My faith wasn't in God. My faith was in you. God didn't make any promises to me. You, who swore to me that you loved me. You, who forsake me more than 3 times. All of you. And most of you, you say you're sorry and you expect me to just accept that. If you were sorry, you would fucking tell the truth. Do not tell me you're sorry if you are doing nothing to remedy the situation. If you are doing nothing to right your wrong. You did evil things to me because you were scared. Because you were scared of these officers? Because you were scared of these fucking cops? Because you were scared of these very same goddamn predators that I am? Because you saw the things that they were doing and getting away with? I fully understand your fears. I fully understand why you did the evil things that you did, Candace Bondurant. Lucky for me, I saved evidence that you were the one who did evil fucking shit. You did evil shit that resulted in repeated harm against me. And then you whine out your goddamn mangina because I fucking called you a name. Let's get back to what Jeannie Bell Black was saying. By the way, Schwartz means black in German, apparently. There are a lot of us people who aren't bipolar and aren't schizophrenic, but we automatically get treated that way with the blanket term of mentally ill. These people were able to get away with preying on me by pretending that I was mentally ill, pretending that I was schizophrenic when it suited them, denying me all of my rights by pretending that I was schizophrenic. And I told everyone that I knew, hey, this is what they're going to do if you don't go in with me. And then those people, months later, or in some cases, years later, are like, yeah, Schwartz, you're not fucking schizophrenic. I recorded and put it up here. Like, why the fuck couldn't you say that 3 years ago? I say, yeah, dude, I'll fucking write a report. Thank you. Why didn't you do that 3 years ago? And then there's a lot of people that, while I was on Facebook bans, because people are literally calling everything that I post up spam, and I got evidence of this too. So I'm on ban after ban and can't speak, can't defend myself, can't reach out to any of my loved ones. And a lot of people start typing at me. I'm on a Facebook ban, and they type at me for a fucking week straight, and then they're like, fuck you if you're just gonna ignore me. Facebook didn't tell them I was on a Facebook ban, so they just assumed. Like, no, God, no, I need your fucking help. I wish I could reach you. I've sent you my phone number 8 goddamn times. You've never called me. You can still go back through your fucking Facebook Messenger and find the fucking phone number. But I can't let them know that because I'm on a fucking Facebook ban. Because I was targeted by God and fucking everybody over slander. Slander that was spread by the media, and I was never allowed to defend myself. I wasn't allowed to defend myself in the media. I wasn't allowed to defend myself in court. I wasn't allowed to defend myself in public. And the victimization that I continue to have to go through because I don't have a guardian means that they can call me schizophrenic as an excuse not to take my report, and then they can say that I was intelligent and I just didn't try to make a fucking report. The evidence is right here on fucking YouTube. And nobody fucking cares. Jeannie Bell Black typed, diagnosed as a young child with multiple personalities. She also typed, I don't think you're a bad person. They wouldn't let me go to Canada to be with my husband because I'm mentally ill. She typed, I'm your friend. I haven't seen my husband for 13 years. We are treated like non-people for being mentally ill. Or mentally ill. She typed, thank you. Yep. So true, Sean. Yes, that's so true. Yep, that's true. Elizabeth Salinas typed, yep, that's true. Elizabeth Salinas typed, it's easy to just write off someone if you label them mentally ill. Exactly. And not just to write them off, but also to victimize them later when your job is literally to do something about the abuse. It is against the law to abuse me in the way that these people did. But it's only against the law if the police do anything. And the police aren't going to do anything because they don't have to. Sheriff Scott DeCosta showed loud and clear what many other officers had already shown. When I was trying to turn in his officer for not doing his job, and Scott DeCosta admits that his officer did not do his job. The consequences for me for that officer not doing his job was that Alicia Bollinger and Ted Bollinger got away with the shit that they were fucking doing that night. They got to play victim after what they did because that officer didn't take it seriously. When I asked Scott DeCosta, hey, did you watch the whole video? He said, no. I said, why not? He said, well, I watched the part where your friend said that you were bipolar. No, my friend didn't say I was bipolar. That was Graham, by the way. That's Tabitha Michelle Cook's new boyfriend. When she got rid of the alcoholic, she replaced him with Graham, who hides behind his religion. I am scared shitless whenever one of my supposed friends starts posting up a bunch of religious shit because I know the first thing they're going to do is use that religious shit as an excuse not to do the right thing. They're going to use that religious shit as an excuse not to do what Jesus would have done. And they're going to use the facts as their excuse for not doing the right thing. Whatever excuse you can find for being lazy and doing nothing, right? As long as it's not you being harmed, it's fine, right? You don't care. See, that's the problem, is that I was being abused because of lies that were told by Natalie Bollinger because she wanted to make her fucking family happy. Who were her predators? Her family. Who neglected her and chose abusive men over her and alcohol over her? That was her very own mother, who later wanted to play victim. After victimizing me, lying about me, slandering my name, resulting in multiple assaults, and then ultimately multiple deaths. I was literally tortured, like I told you. I was tortured in the jails. I was tortured in Arapahoe County Jail. I was tortured in Boulder County Jail. I was tortured in Larimer County Jail. And I was tortured in Scotts Bluff. That's what happens when you are called mentally ill and you are trying to turn in police. They just tell other police officers, hey, come here for a second. We're on the same side, right? We both got badges, right? Jeannie Bell Black typed, sure is, Elizabeth. Elizabeth Salinas typed, I'm diagnosed as clinically depressed, but I'm just written off as moody. It's sad to be treated wrong. I agree. Jeannie Bell Black typed, it is. Jeannie Bell Black typed, right? Elizabeth Salinas typed, people have excuses, and they sure fucking do, don't they? Oh, well, I'm sorry I didn't do my job, but they can't say they're sorry because that does denote that they fucked up, that they did do something wrong. They're not taught how to keep you safe. They're taught how to not get their community sued for a lot of fucking money. The best way to do that, especially if you want to populate the jails and prisons, profit. If you don't have all those criminals, you don't need all those cops, and you don't need all those judges. And all those cops and judges fucking know it. So we better make a fucking criminal out of somebody. We can't make criminals out of the actual criminals. They're all protected. They're protected by their families, and they're protected by bad laws. They're protected because they might actually have the money to buy their fucking way out of it. They're protected because although they're a child molester, they might have served in the military, and somehow that magically makes it okay. What are your chances of having someone do something about your attacker when you're raped if you were called mentally ill? What are your chances? The signs of abuse these people use as an excuse to abuse us. The signs of trauma they use as excuses to harm us. We're exhibiting signs of trauma. Call it trauma, not mental illness. Because trauma is a far cry from schizophrenic. Between asking the people who knew me for years and listening to the cops who I was trying to turn in, who should they have fucking listened to? People say you should call this place and you should call that place, you should call those people and you should call these people. In order for those people to do anything for me, I need a guardian present. There is literally nothing else that will work when you are called mentally ill. Nothing. There is zero chance of you getting help without a guardian present. We are treated like we are fucking children. We are denied the rights of an adult. When I was a child, I was like, you know what? I can't wait to turn 18. Because when I'm 18, I won't be in the system and I can fucking do something about these son of a bitches. And ever since, I have been. But they got that label, mentally ill. Sure, I was in all those foster homes being abused because my parents couldn't stay off the cocaine. But I'm not allowed to say that because mentally ill, that's the first thing both of those son of a bitches go to. These people who told me, hey, Sean, you're the best man I know. You were the most honest person that I know. You're the this and you're the that. Well, fine, thank you. Are you blowing smoke up my ass? Because really, you're not speaking up in court. I went to you for help. I went to you for help. And there's two different types of people who, well, in the help category, there's the people who could have helped me. The ones who are sober, who have a decent family, who have a spare room, who don't have a whole bunch of fucking screaming and drama. But they're also like, well, I don't want any drama. Okay, so now I'm pretty well stuck with drug addicts who are going to make empty promises and alcoholics who are going to make empty promises, volatile. And then these volatile people who are volatile because they're on drugs and alcohol. I have to just take it because I can't turn them in. I'll get called mentally ill and they get away with it. How do I know? From fucking experience. She typed in protected by money. That was Elizabeth Linus and Jeannie Bell Black typed right. You guys tell me I gotta spend all this money for all of these things to get help for myself. Literally, I can't spend the money on that. For that entire year after Natalie was killed, I didn't have a goddamn penny to my name. All of my money was spent going to court date after court date after court date because my predators used the term mentally ill to paint me as the predator. They used it as an excuse to abuse me and cause me physical harm. But because between doing their goddamn jobs and doing vigilante bullshit to try to frame me, which one did they choose? And Boulder is especially famous for this, especially since the death of JonBenet Ramsey and multiple high-profile rapes on CU campus. They got stuff all over campus that's supposed to help you if you're raped. They do. That's up there for the public to go, oh, well, see, they're doing something. But then when you're raped, what do the cops fucking do? They try to cover it up. There are still rapes that happen at CU. But the cops are not going to fucking investigate it. They're going to do everything they can to fucking bury it because they don't want the bad goddamn publicity. That publicity did not make things better for women at CU. It made things worse for them. Before, with this big media fiasco that made Boulder the center of attention for this concentrated evil, they did not want that fucking attention, did they? Hell no. Just as I didn't want the abuse that I was taking. That's the attention that I got for trying to get help. Is abused and blown off and lied to. People want to give advice without looking at all at what I've already gone through. Like that lady who was telling me to go to Colorado Coalition of the Homeless. That's where I went. See, I'm going to give you the timeline of the year before Natalie was killed. All right. My birthday, it was just supposed to be me and Miss Natalie having a picnic in her fucking driveway somewhere close. But she and her sister wanted to take me out to Elliot's Coffee Grounds. Mostly they just wanted to get out of the house and away from their mom. But that was their idea. Theirs. That was their birthday treat to me. Are you gonna fucking take somebody who is stalking you out for their birthday? How fucking dare you? How fucking dare you? How dare you shame me into driving all of the way out there by saying, I'm gonna kill myself if you don't come here, Sean? And then she fucking tried. And then when I did what I should have done to begin with, which is go out there, like I was fucking trying, but I got a fucked up back. I've got no income at that point. When I was finally able to make it out there because she fucking tried to commit suicide, I went where they told me to. I did what they told me to do. They tell me to to stay behind Starbucks at the Chesapeake Mall. That's what I do. They tell me we're going to go to Virginia Beach, so that's what we do. They tell me that we're going to go to Elliot's Coffee Grounds. That's what we do. They tell me that we're going to go to the pagoda on the pier, so that's what we do. I did everything that they told me to. Alicia told me to come over and see her at lunch, so that's what I did. She told me to hang out at Starbucks, and their boyfriend was cool, and so was everybody else at Starbucks. And she was right, and that's what I did. She told me to fill out job applications, so that's what I did. The reason I was filling out job applications is because the money that I had to go on that trip, it went to rescuing Miss Jamie and her son from James. They told me to change my phone number from my flip phone to that broken ass phone that used to be Natalie's, and that's what I did. They told me to get a job at Labor Ready, and that's what I did. I did everything that I was fucking told. And people were mean to me for it. It's not my fault that her mom was paranoid, but let me tell you something. People treated me like I was a terrible excuse for a human being for dating Natalie when she was underage. What you're not paying attention to is that I never dated Natalie, ever. And we never, literally never hung out together before she was 18. If I'm in a coffee shop that I'm a regular at, and you're a regular at that coffee shop too, are we hanging out because we're in the same area? Are we hanging out with each other? Or are we just hanging out in the same place? We might both be friendly with the same baristas. We might be friendly with some of the other regulars, but that doesn't mean that we're hanging out. Just because I recognize your face. And that's the thing with Natalie and Alicia. Before they were 18, I couldn't tell one from the other, except Natalie was cut the fuck up. But I didn't know her name. When I saw her down there, I recognized her face. She was a regular. So here I am, friends with an adult, being treated like I'm some sort of creepy fucking rapist chimo for being friends with an adult who I had a lot in common with, an adult who saved my life, an adult who, because of her actions, I was able to go rescue Jamie and the boy from James instead of being a corpse in the fucking ground. Jeannie Bell Black or Elizabeth Linus typed, "You did nothing wrong." And Jeannie Bell Black typed, "I'm listening while I'm making dinner, but I'm here and I hear you." No, I did a lot of things wrong, but I always tried to do the right thing first. The problem is that I shouldn't have had to do those wrong things over the abuse that I was taking. I should not have had to do wrong things because I was lied to. A lot of the things that people are saying, well, you did the wrong thing. You should have done this. You should have done this. Given the information that I had at the time, there is no fucking jury in the United States who's going to look at that and say, Sean, you were in the wrong. There is no jury in the United States. There is no jury in the United States who can look at all of the abuse that I've gone through and all of these extenuating circumstances and not cry for blood against these officers and these other predators. There is no jury in the United States who could go through my Facebook Messenger and not be pissed off that there is so much evidence there that shows that The people who pretended I was the predator were the ones who were being predatory. Their motives aren't being part of the Illuminati. Their motives are simple motives. They're all selfish motives. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to lose their job. They don't want to lose their kids. They don't want to be ostracized. They don't want their friends to judge them the way that you're judged. They don't want to be assaulted. They don't want to have their families threatened. I get that. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to defend myself. If I went to you for help, I'm going to tell the whole world that I went to you for help. If you promise to help me, I'm going to tell the whole world you promised to help me. And when you don't keep your word and it results in harm against me, I'm going to tell the whole world that too. I didn't have a choice in all of this. See, all these people want to pretend that I had all of these options that they have. No, when you are called mentally ill and you have no guardian, if you have family and your family goes in with you, by law, that family is considered your guardian. Did you know that? If my brother had gone in with me to talk to the police, or my sister, or my mother, or my little brother, or my dad, those people could have spoken up for me immediately. But when you don't have family, it's a lot fucking harder. I tried to explain to all these people, I need someone there in person to act as family. If you're going to call me family and say, yeah, Sean, I'm here for you, your family. But then when it comes to doing what family does, you say, well, I have a real family. I know. And I told you that was going to happen, but you assured me that I am real family, Miss Peaches. Natalie was wonderful to me in real life. The mean shit that she did was over other people's fucking paranoia. And they're all stuffing this shit into her head over and over and over again. And they're giving her bad fucking advice. It should have been dealt with as two fucking adults. Instead of me being repeatedly harmed because nobody wanted to do that. People say you need to move on. Do you have any idea how many times I moved before Natalie was fucking killed? So here's the timeline. From when I left Virginia until Natalie was killed. In as simple a fashion as possible. So I've been in the hospital there because I'm severely dehydrated and they put in 2 bags of saline. They bring a therapist in, and I explain to this therapist what's going on with my vehicle getting stuck in the road, Natalie being on heroin, the fucked up situation on my birthday, the way that her sister was treating me, the fact that I was fucking stranded there, the fact that my entire support network was gone, the fact that I had been stuck in that fucking car for 3 fucking days, sweating my fucking ass off because I couldn't get out of the fucking thing. And I explained to the officer that took me in too. I was like, dude, all this stuff that you're saying they're gonna do to help me, I'm not gonna. When I get out, my car is gonna be towed. He's like, no, they're not gonna tow your car. Your car will be fine. You can get it when you get out. We're just taking you to the hospital. At the hospital, they also misdiagnosed me with diabetes. But that shit should have been documented, and I believe she was writing some of that stuff down, the therapist. But yeah, instead of helping me out, their help made it so that I was homeless without a vehicle, without a fucking charger for my phone to get a hold of anybody, without any money, with nothing. And now I have to come up with money to get my things back. I have to find a safe place to go, and it's illegal to be homeless there too. Thank goodness there was a Food Lion right across the street from the fucking hospital. And guess what? There was a black man who worked there. And I am going to make mention of the fact that he was black. He bought me some dinner. He bought me a fucking cell phone charger. I was waiting on Brandon Ratner. He was going to send me some money, and it just wasn't getting there. So I had to stay there behind their building. I was afraid because, he said, all right, I'm gonna let them know that you're gonna charge out front here. The cops might come and stop and talk to you anyway, but nobody here is gonna call you in. We get that you're stuck here. You just got out of the hospital. You're fucking obviously not in a good way. So, here's some dinner. Plug in your phone, even though it's against the rules. You can sleep behind our building, even though it's against the rules. So, anyway, I was trying to find out what was going on, and I called up Natalie, and I didn't call her up. I sent her and her sister, Alicia, both messages, and I'm sorry fucking for getting stuck out in the road. And if you guys or your family are scared of me, just let me know, and I won't talk to you again. So I don't know if it was Natalie or Alicia, but they called me from Alicia's phone. Natalie and Alicia, they sounded the same. Were identical twins. I could tell the difference seeing them, but not in the voices. But she said to me, Sean, I love you, but my family is scared of you, so don't talk to me anymore. I was fine with that. I hung up the phone. I blocked her and her sister on Facebook. I tried to let Maddie Boa know what was going on and let her know that I was heading back to Colorado. And Maddie Boa, she treated me like shit. She accused me of threatening Natalie and her family in Virginia, and that was not fucking true. And people continually, repeatedly threatened, harassed, fucking assaulted, and stalked me over that. And all of them got away with it because cops didn't want to do their fucking jobs. I just got to man up. People call me selfish. And you know what? These people are the ones who are selfish. All of these people who, when they needed help, I helped them. All of these people that I went to for help, these people who said, hey, if you ever need anything, let me know. Well, I need you to tell the truth. When I got back to Boulder, I was immediately pushed, and I should say that I was assaulted because legally, according to the guidelines in the state of Colorado, that was assault, as well as the things that were being yelled at me were use of fighting words, but also what happens if I go to the cops by myself without a guardian. I'm vulnerable, but they ignore my vulnerabilities because I'm intelligent. But then when it suits them, that's when they jump on my disabilities. My disabilities make me vulnerable to attack because people can get away with whatever they want just by calling me mentally ill. A woman is more likely to be listened to, even if she's mentally ill, which she's not likely to be listened to, just more likely than a man. She's more likely to get help than a man. She's more likely to get sympathy than a man. She's also more likely to manipulate that fact. A lot of women complain about equality, but you know what? A lot of men are complaining about equality now too. Because we have given special rights and special immunity to women for destroying men's lives just because they didn't get what they wanted. Sandy Fromm is not a safe person to be out in public. She has gotten away with stalking Toby Smith since she got here to town. She has gotten away with repeatedly threatening to kill people and attempting to hire people to kill people. And she has access to firearms and ammunition in her house right now. As well as the fact that she is, well, it's appearing to seem that, like, well, she's schizophrenic as all fuck. The medication that she's taking, it's called ORAP, or Pinazide. It is used for two things and two things only. One of them is Tourette's syndrome, which is, I have Tourette's syndrome. I've been on ORAP. When I quit taking medications, ORAP and lithium are the two medications that I was on at that point in time. I quit taking medications December 14th of 1997, and I was a better person for it. I was not angry and hateful all the time. I was finally able to think. I was able to actually learn stuff so fucking quick. I mean, I was already an incredibly fast learner, but oh my God, turning off the fucking drug faucet, like that just opened the goddamn floodgates. All of a sudden, like there was things that I didn't know that I was capable of doing. All because I did the right thing and got off of the drugs. But the other thing that ORAP is given for is a type of schizophrenia, a very, very acute type of schizophrenia. Sandy Fromm does not have Tourette's syndrome. And in one of my recordings, she does admit to being diagnosed with schizophrenia, and that is why she's on that medication. But then you also got to look at the situation of how, is she really schizophrenic? Or was she trying to turn in an officer who did something wrong? Well, in her case, she was drinking and driving and putting people's lives at risk. Yeah, go Sandy. So now you've got a schizophrenic alcoholic who is mixing alcohol and medications, tequila and medications, and driving around all horny as fuck looking for something to have sex with, obsessed with Toby Smith, has access to firearms, is volatile as all hell. And you guys try to pretend like I'm that kind of person because I'm exhibiting signs of trauma and abuse. Holy hell. And telling me that I can't be a victim. I'm not the right color. I'm not the right gender. I'm not the right age. I can't possibly be the victim. I can't be the victim because of my apparent religion or lack thereof. And then these people use that as an excuse to victimize me. And meanwhile, you look at all of these laws that make it illegal to do that. It is illegal to do these things to a person because of the color of their skin, because of their gender. That's the way the law is written. It doesn't say it's only illegal to do someone who is darker than this piece of cardboard. If you're not darker than that piece of cardboard, then you can't be a victim. That's not how the law is fucking written. And shame on anybody who tries to get laws written like that. Wrong is wrong no matter what color you are. Wrong is wrong no matter what gender you are. Wrong is wrong no matter how much money you have. Or at least that's what equality means to me. We don't have equality in America. And then I listen to idiots tell me, well, that's not my fault. It absolutely is. Those of you Christians who are using that excuse, the Bible's got quite a few things to say about where you're going. If only you read the book. If only, instead of reading the entire story, to understand that story, each chapter as a chapter, instead of picking apart little bits and pieces that you want to pull out as an excuse for your sins. I can't find anything to hate those who I hate in Leviticus. Let's go to the book of Mark. Mark's not that bad. We could always go to Revelations or Genesis. We could jump all over the place. Who wants to read Ezekiel? I like Lamentations. If the New Testament tells you that it's wrong, go to the Old Testament. If it's wrong, then it's wrong no matter what. Unless it happens to you, right? The rules are different for you. You should be allowed to judge everybody and throw all your fucking scripture at them as an excuse for your goddamn judgment. And then you say, you can't judge me. Well, you don't like being judged back? Now you're going to whine and bitch and moan and complain as if you are victimized worse than anybody in the whole world who has ever been victimized because somebody fucking stood up to you. I didn't make Candace Bondurant a coward. I didn't make Jace Jefferson a coward. I didn't make any of these people cowards. I want to read you some famous quotes here, if I can find them. Oh, yes, I forgot. That doesn't work. All it takes for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing. It's an old saying, and we should say good people instead of good men, right? Change it over so it's not sexist. We got a lot of similar sayings by Martin Niemöller, who was a priest during the, well, Nazi Germany. We've got similar sayings from Albert Einstein, Nikolai Tesla, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi. Holy hell, right? We got peaceful people who fight hard against you warmongers, but it's tough. When we're trying to live the way that Jesus did, not because Jesus is the Messiah, you're using Jesus as the Messiah as an excuse for sinning. No, absolutely fucking not. He was teaching lessons, and you throw away all of those lessons. The only part that you care about is right before you die, you say, Father, please, Heavenly Father, forgive me, for I have sinned. I repent. No, you don't fucking repent. Repenting means you are truly sorry for what you've done. If you are truly sorry for the sins that you have committed, you will do something to remedy that. That is what repenting is. You make zero effort to repent. When you die, you're going to hell. That's what your book fucking says. If you don't heed the lessons that Jesus is teaching you, you're going to hell. That's the moral of the fucking story. But your excuse for not heeding his lessons is that you're not Jesus. You're not perfect. You are using your Messiah as an excuse to do harm to other individuals, to turn a blind eye, to do nothing. In Jesus' name, gay men. Yes, I said gay men. I know gay Christians. Yes, they do exist. Here in chapel, they say amen. In Boulder, you say gay men. I remember one day, there's this guy, he's wanting to be a jerk, be hateful about homosexuals in Boulder. And I'm explaining to him, hey, dude, you might not want to be like that here. This is Boulder, Colorado. Some big Lou Ferrigno motherfucker might come out of the woodwork and beat your ass. So then I get to hear a bunch of jokes about Twinkies. I'm like, a Twinkie is a fucking snack cake. I love Twinkies. But it just so happens that at the Boulder Theater there, they were having a weightlifting thing going on. This is the irony of all of it. And some dude overheard this guy being a jerk and being hateful. He'd been going off for a good half an hour, hateful about homosexuals. And sure enough, one of these big fucking weightlifting bodybuilders, and you know, we're not talking about the ones who do the heavy lifting. Some of them look kind of like they're obese and overweight. No, this guy was, you know, he's eating the stuff that cuts his fat down to fucking 2% or 1%. You know, he's fucking ripped to the max. You know, he's doing it for the looks, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, or Lou Ferrigno. They lifted weights for that toned physique, for the looks, for the competitions, not weightlifting competitions, muscle competitions. They're showing off their body, not how much they can lift. And this dude who is so hateful about homosexuals, and I warned him, of course, not knowing that this competition was going on. They do have it every year. But the irony of it all is that someone big and huge like Lou Ferrigno did come up and intimidate the fuck out of this dude who promptly left. Jeannie Black typed, I'm listening while making dinner, but I'm here and I hear you. I already read that part. Elizabeth Slinus typed, they are sheep. Elizabeth Slinus typed, people talk the talk but don't walk the walk. Jeannie Bell Black typed, preach it, brother, you're an old soul. That one, this one typed, hey Sean, meaning the message, I'm busy, ATM. ATM stands for at the moment, I'm assuming, not automatic teller machine. The thing is that I am in increased vulnerability because of a label. It's the label itself, which is my disability. It is the label itself by which these people judged the truth of what I was saying. Not the evidence, none of them. None of my public pretenders looked at the evidence. They stretched it out until they could no longer get that evidence. If we've got 30 days for discovery, I need you to do your job instead of postponing it for a month. Especially if you're going to make me spend $100 to come to somewhere that I am unsafe, just to not do anything and continue it for another month. So now I got to spend more money to go back to some place that is reasonably safe. But then my public pretender can't meet with me on the same day, and I got to show her this stuff in person, and we have to discuss this stuff in person, and she can't do this or this or this over the phone. So then I spend $100 to go back to this very same area where it is unsafe for me to be, for her not to fucking show up. So then I gotta turn around, spend another $100 to go back to somewhere where I'm kind of sort of reasonably safe. But then the investigator that I'm supposed to meet with for my public pretender, who didn't show up for my court date that was postponed again, literally not once did my investigators show up. Now we're talking about one court date per month and one visit with my public pretender per month and one visit with the investigator per month. Each one of these three costing me $200 round trip for them to do nothing, to listen to absolutely nothing that I am telling them. And later on, all of these people are covering their asses because the things that I told them that were going on, that they selectively ignored, people were killed by those same exact methods at those same exact places. Larimer County. I was sent there for trying to turn in Waylon Lolatai. Between taking my report and doing that bullshit, they pulled that bullshit. Every step of the way, the hospitals denied me the right to an officer. The police denied me the right to make a report. The police abused me, and these hospitals abused me for the police. All under the words mentally ill. That makes it okay. For an entire year before Natalie was killed, I was begging someone to help me or fucking kill me. I am being fucking tortured. Natalie didn't fucking care. She wanted to pretend that I was making it up. Did I make up Tim Beeson threatening my fucking life in those text messages? Did I make that up? Or sorry, those screenshots from Facebook Messenger. Now, if only I'd have known how to take fucking screenshots before Natalie was fucking killed, I could have sent that shit to her. Hey, Natalie, here's why I'm asking for your help. When I said people are treating me like a child molester, you didn't give me a chance to explain what that even meant before you blocked me and sent more people after me. People are assaulting me because you aren't going to come forward and tell the truth. You are a despicable human being at that point. Everybody in America knows, every single person in this country knows that they can victimize a disabled person. There is not one person in this country who does not know or understand that. There are only liars who pretend. You don't want to admit that those labeled mentally ill and the homeless are victimized more than anybody else because you still want to be able to victimize people whenever you want. You make these excuses for why it's okay for us to be abused whenever somebody abuses us. And those are the very same excuses that you are going to use for abusing us when you have a fucking bad day too. Am I the predator for trying to get help when people are threatening my life and assaulting me? Am I the predator for cursing when people are assaulting me over things that I didn't do? Am I a bad person for screaming at the top of my lungs for help because I have a penis? Is it okay to treat me like it is my fault because I am a man and you're blaming men? And it does tend to especially be pointed at me. Is it my fault that the guy that you're back with and having sex with again, is it my fault that you have let him get away with it repeatedly? Is it my fault that when you got lonely and went back to him, you let him and his friends do whatever they wanted to me? Is that my choice? You say, hey, Sean, you deserve it. These people broke the law and harmed me, and no matter what, you make excuses why it is okay. These officers abused their positions, same as the public pretenders, same as the DA, and same as these judges. When you are homeless and alone, you have no rights. If you have a public pretender, you are alone. That is as simple as it fucking is. If you're a female, that increases their chance of wanting to help you. If you have children, that increases their chance of wanting to help you. They don't care who's right or wrong. They are prioritizing their cases based on who is most likely to win, based on public opinion, not what the law says. Meanwhile, a lot of the attorneys that you guys told me to call, I looked into their history, and many of them have gotten, some of them, hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars for child molesters and rapists who are abused behind bars. Registered and everything. I've never raped anybody, and I've never molested anybody. There is no rape or molestation on my criminal record. But I am treated the same as those individuals who were convicted of these crimes. But it is considered a hate crime to commit those acts against a registered sex offender. Whereas, since I have never raped or molested anybody, I am not a registered sex offender, and therefore I don't have the protections of a sex offender. Holy shit! All of the people who raped and molested me got away with it. Every single goddamn one. You don't have any rights if you have a penis. Your rights are based on public opinion, not what's written in a goddamn law book. If you have the right amount of money, then you can pay enough interns to go through 7 million laws to find the loophole that'll get you free for the crime you actually committed. Cops don't want to arrest a fucking rich person. It's too much fucking issues. It's too drawn out. They are too likely to fucking lose the case. And if they lose the case, they're gonna get fucking sued. And so's the department. They don't fucking want that. They thought Zayd Atkinson was a homeless person. By the time they realized he wasn't, it was too late for them to back out. And look what it cost them. Because they chose to victimize somebody in a fucking house instead of a homeless person. They didn't know he lived in a fucking house. If they saw him in a house and knew that he fucking lived there, and there was a white guy living in that same house, and they knew that he lived there, Boulder police is a lot more likely to harass the white guy who lives there. Do you know why? Because they don't have any risk of anyone doing anything except laugh at them if they say, hey, I was targeted for the color of my skin. But they're literally being targeted for the color of their skin because it's easier to get away with. You're a white guy. You can't pretend it's a race crime, even if it is. And BLM. A lot of these officers who did these evil things to me before they killed these black people, by looking at my case and helping me out, BLM could have gotten a more favorable outcome for the victims and their families by establishing, yes, that these places by name had been turned in and that these places abused their authority to cover it up. The things that I told you Clearview did to me for months and months and months and months. You victimized me and treated me like I was schizophrenic for saying it. And then you look at that first fiasco that they had. They had multiple fiascos on the news after that, where the news itself verified the things that I was saying. And the state of Colorado itself closed down that place for doing exactly the things that I had been telling you they were doing, that you called me a liar and treated me like I was schizophrenic for. What was the first fiasco? They were taking people and keeping them for longer than they were allowed to try to make more money. They were doing this for insurance money. It was an insurance scam. That was my first beef there. My second beef, which was also addressed in that, is that they have Walmart workers and 7-Eleven workers who are working there as the nursing staff. They have one charge nurse there who covers for the doctors. That's her fucking job. On that segment from Tony Kovaleski, that woman, that head charge nurse, he talks to, and you get to see her doing exactly what these officers are recorded doing. Exactly the things that I said that she in specific had been doing. Stammering on her words and making excuses. Whatever it takes to protect the institution and its money because you don't want to lose your job. Isn't that right? Who cares how many innocent people are fucking dead as long as you don't lose your job? You're a disgusting excuse for a human being. Now there is so much evidence lost. So many of these predators have gotten away with the bullshit that they did because their slander was allowed in court, but evidence was not. They were allowed to go to court, and I was not. They were allowed to speak in my court dates from other states, and I wasn't even allowed to speak if I was in the fucking room. Then we got this separation where it's criminal or civil. When these people commit criminal acts against me, they tell me I have to go to civil court. Why do I have to go to civil court? Because nobody's going to go in with me to file a report in criminal court. And so my predators are going to get away with it. And they know that I don't have the money to hire a real fucking lawyer when I get out. My disability money is the money that got spent to go to those court dates where they refused to do their jobs, refused to do anything except victimize me further and postpone it further by refusing to even look at the evidence of the abuse that I had gone through and continued to go through. I had to break the law because the cops wouldn't do their jobs. The FBI wouldn't do their jobs. Department of Health and Human Services wouldn't do their jobs. My therapists wouldn't do their jobs. My caseworkers wouldn't do their jobs. As soon as Natalie was dead, all these people went and hid under a goddamn rock. And then I got to start over from scratch. And you pretend I never made an effort to begin with. And these people whose testimony is the difference between me being abused for crimes I didn't fucking commit and actually having an honest, decent chance at a decent life. These people want to throw the money at me. Not throwing millions of dollars at me or anything like that, but throw the fact that people offered me money or that I had money as their excuse for why I am not doing what I should be doing. That money makes no difference without a guardian to speak up for a person to act as family. There's all these people who have similar issues, and they want me to tell their stories, and they want me to speak out, and they want me to help them, but they don't return the favor. Or they say, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. Jeannie Bell Black type, thank you for speaking out. You're welcome. But speaking out is not good enough. Without a guardian, no matter what I say, I am treated like I am schizophrenic. Sandy Fromm, who is actually schizophrenic, who has everything fucking handed to her on a silver platter her whole life. First, she was pretty, and people wanted to shower her with gifts and attention because she was pretty. Then her parents died, and she inherited the farm, the house. She doesn't take care of the responsibilities. She doesn't know how. So she tries to abuse people like me and others to do that work for her. She doesn't know how to run most of the machines on her farm. And neither do we. But she expects us to go through the manuals on her fucking hay baler while she goes and smokes pot with a 16-year-old. So me and this kid that she's taking advantage of are trying to get this thing fucking running. We don't know anything more than she does. But also, she's going to get pissed off in a week and probably fire that kid anyway. And she still won't know how to run the baler. And she will have to try to con somebody else into fucking doing it for her because she wants to go on another tequila run. Or she wants to go stalk Tobe Smith some more. Or she wants to go smoke some pot with a 16-year-old while his grandpa's at fucking church. You tell me I'm a bad person for saying something. And some people, like Jeannie Bell Black, says, thank you for speaking out. You know, a lot of these people who hate me now thanked me for speaking out a lot. But then when I showed the truth, because they promised to speak out, they promised to help me, and they didn't keep their word. And when I showed off me, I'm sorry about the belching. And now they tell me I'm a terrible, horrible, and rotten, selfish person. And they do everything that they can to hide the fact that they didn't keep their word. That in many cases, these people abused me and took advantage of me further after promising to help me. All the money that I spent at Tabby's house and all the time that I spent cleaning and helping with dinner, and I did spend a lot of money on groceries, I didn't spend a lot of time cooking. The cooking was mostly done by Tabby's oldest daughter. She's a badass. Matter of fact, Tabby's pretty well a badass too. But she was too much of a coward to step up and tell the truth. The funny thing is, because she badmouthed me to Miss Peaches, along with one of the people who was threatening to murder me over the situation with Ken and Leah that I was never allowed an honest fucking court date in. And I was tortured from the day that I walked into the Arapahoe County Jail. They literally did everything that they could to prevent me from going to the court date that I literally had to break the law to fucking get. I literally had to threaten to kill my predators in order to get a court date so that I could show that my predators were threatening my life for over a fucking year before I threatened them back. And police did nothing. That's not true, is it? They blew me off. They told me I needed to man up. Then Natalie fucking died. And then they weren't blowing me off. I mean, sure, they were blowing me off, but it was for a different purpose. They were covering up the fact that they didn't do their goddamn jobs. They repeatedly broke the law and committed felonies to hide the fact that they didn't do their jobs before Natalie was killed. The fact that they ignored me repeatedly. All of the people that I went to for help. Brenda Dickinson, obviously she does exist. A lot of these people these web groups that popped up when Natalie first disappeared, they said that every single witness was an altered ego of Sean David Schwartz. It was someone who I had made up. Like I had been conversing with myself on a fake Natalie profile. As if I had made a Natalie profile in 2017 or 2016 so that I could set it up to pretend like me and Natalie were friends. So that 2 years later, when she's murdered by Joseph Michael Lopez, are you guys not seeing how fucking asinine and fucking paranoid this fucking trippy way of thinking that the cops were trying to fucking push out there and the Bollingers were trying to push out there? Are you not seeing how fucking crazy that line of thinking is? No, those conversations between me and Natalie in 2016 were legitimately between me and Natalie. It wasn't me trying to come up with some giant, years and years long fucking conspiracy to have this girl kill herself through Joseph Michael Lopez. Who the fuck? Oh my God! And I tell you that I've been abused to the point that I don't want my life to exist anymore, but I'm trying to get your help instead of kill myself. And what do? You lock me up as if I'm trying to kill myself. No, I'm trying to get help with the abuse that has pushed me that far. Natalie had to go through that same abuse from Tim Beeson, that same abuse from Ted Bollinger and Rochelle Shelley Campbell. That evil shit that those people did to me after Natalie disappeared. Natalie had to go through that her whole life. Yes, that is why she was suicidal. The difference between Natalie's situation with her family and my situation with mine is that I gave up on trying to make them happy. I gave up on trying to get my family to love me the right way. They only love me when they want something. They only love me when they want to manipulate. One of the things that my mom hated the most about me is that when she kicked Scott out of the house and bashed his fucking window in with a fucking baseball bat and accused Scott of cheating on her because his character in a video game married another character in a video game. A male character married a female character. It's fantasy. But my mom, because the owner of that female character was a dude, my mom hated Scott because he's gay, accused Scott of being in a homosexual relationship against the covenant with God. Yeah, that's my mom. She hated me very much because I wasn't gonna take her fucking side. I said, Mom, you've cheated on Scott with 3 different men since I've been here. I'm not talking about marrying a character on a video game. I'm talking about sucking a dick in Scott's bed. Holy fuck, she didn't like hearing that. And that's a tradition she keeps to this day. And Scott keeps the tradition of being a bitch by letting her do it. He's too much of a bitch to move on. He fucking hates it. He hates that my mother is still having sex with a roly-poly. Yes, Scott called Jeffrey Witcher a roly-poly. Scott doesn't like Jeff. And Scott was living in the same fucking house as Jeff for almost a year. Why? Because Scott is fucking whipped. He's old and afraid of being alone. He's fucking wrinkled and ugly. And he don't think he will ever have a chance with another woman because he's old and ugly. So he will endure any abuse my mom gives him. If my mom pulled down a man's pants in front of my stepdad and started sucking that man's dick, my stepdad would be too much of a bitch to leave the room. What if she gets mad because I didn't watch? What if she gets mad because I didn't watch? This is a man who is highly intelligent. This is a man who has decorations from the United States Air Force because he, as a computer dude in the 80s, was able to save our lives as a goddamn country. He fought against some of the original fucking hackers. Back then, the closest you had to internet was interconnected computers, miles and miles of line between them, or big ass receivers that have to broadcast it, much like we do today. It's just older technology. You're using a radio to broadcast the signal. You know what? For years and years, it was a radio signal that would turn into pictures on your screen. It wasn't digital. It was radio waves that were reassembled by your computer, or by your TV, sorry. Just like those radio waves are reassembled by the radio in your vehicle. Then you can listen to the music and turn the knob and dial, and you don't have to be plugged into the thing. Internet now works exactly the same way. We just call it something different and charge more for it. We're also a lot bigger connected because it's not just military junctions. Now, this guy can save the lives of millions of Americans during the Cold War, and my mom get him straight up being a bitch. When my mom met Scott, it's because I was on a home visit and I wanted to go into the arcade. Scott, you know what he did? Came over and he saw me at the machine, that there was this toy that I wanted, and he put a couple arcade tokens in it and maneuvered the thing and picked it up, dropped it off, and said, "Here you go." That's how my mom met Scott. Did you know that? The guy went from having a big ass national security job to working as a those of you who were alive in the 80s remember them belts. The belt goes across here, and each one is a stack of about 20 of them arcade coins. And you walk up to the dude and you say, I want 10 coins. And you hand him $2.50. He puts them into this thing, and then it goes click, 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 click. One thing I can say for Scott, he sure is loyal like a fucking dog. He's afraid of being alone too. My mom was sucking Jeff's dick, having sex with him. He wasn't the only person my mom was having sex with at the time, though. Jeannie Bell Black type. Scott sounds like a good guy. Well, sorta. When I was a little kid and I finally was sent to Centennial Peaks, I hadn't seen my mom in months. And I blamed Scott for it. And I accused Scott of doing something that he did not do. I told those folks at Centennial Peaks that Scott molested me and he didn't. That was the worst thing I've done my entire life. To this day, like just the thought of it makes me sick to my stomach. It's not like this situation with Natalie where I've been villainized for defending myself. No, we're talking about a situation where I maliciously said something that didn't happen. And Scott never forgave me for that. I understand why. We never had a relationship after that. People always got these ideas but don't understand the dynamic. A lot of people treated me completely like shit because I wasn't with Scott learning how to be an electrician. That's what you're supposed to do. That's the expectations in small towns like this. Scott didn't want to have nothing to do with me. But you don't want to hear that. You're just going to tell me I'm making excuses. My mom used to volunteer Scott for all sorts of shit. As soon as my mom was out of the room, he's like, you know, I'm full of shit, right? Yeah, Scott, I know. See, here's the thing with Scott. I did apologize a lot. No amount of apologies was ever good enough. But I did the right thing. I did the right thing by admitting that I lied. I did the right thing by admitting that Scott didn't do those things. I mean, fuck, I was 6 years old, asshole. 6. I couldn't see my mom. They wouldn't let me see my mom. That was my perspective as a 6-year-old. They won't let me see my mom, but they keep shipping me around to these places and let people hurt me. They take me out of the good foster homes and send me to a bad one. And when I tell on the bad one, the cops show up and treat me like I'm the one who did something bad. You know why I didn't go telling on all of the foster homes that were good to me? Because they were good to me. I remember one of the places that I was at. This is back when the telephone was attached to the wall with a cord. And I called 911 from inside the pantry. So I'm in the pantry and there's this food that I'm not allowed to eat. And I'm in there and I'm calling 911. I'm like, I need help. They're like, where are you at? I'm like, I don't know. I'm in a foster home. I'm on. Then cops treated me like I was crying wolf. And then they took me to a facility for the night. There was a lot of screaming boys. It was a youth facility, but it was just a holding cell. Some of y'all who've been locked up, you know what a holding cell is. Some places have big holding cells. You might have 20 or 30 people arrested in a day. Or you might have, in the state of Colorado at the time, we had so many kids in the system that holding cell was good for 30 days. You could have 120 kids in a holding cell. And in the holding cell, when there's that many people, you've got 120 beds. They're all bunk beds, every single one of them. And then you've got a pile of mats in the corner. If you get an overflow, you take off the mats and you start lining them up against the walls, and that's where the boys sleep. Well, I wasn't there for very long. They just took me there to try to scare me. We're going to scare you into not crying wolf. We're going to tell you these kids are all criminals and you don't want to be one of these. Holy hell, them criminals did more for me than any cop ever did. Drug dealers did more to protect me than any cop ever did. Drug dealers. But lucky me, I got crackers. If I had diabetes, I would not be able to consume as many crackers as I do. Most of the evidence I talk about is here on YouTube or it's on my Facebook. All you got to do to find out if I'm telling the truth is go look for it. If you listen to my stories, you'll go back and you'll immediately recognize these people. You'll immediately recognize these stories. You go, this is what he was talking about. That is actually Miss Peaches speaking. Wow, she's saying the exact things that Sean was trying to say from the beginning. When did he record that? In August. Well, hell, why didn't she come forward with that from the beginning? Because she was afraid of vigilantes. You got no idea how many cops take it upon themselves to be the judge and the jury. When they refuse to look at evidence, they're playing judge and jury. When they're assaulting you and pretending like you assaulted them, they're playing judge and jury. They already passed judgment on you without a jury of your peers. They already decided your guilt and will not look at any evidence that proves that their narrative is incorrect. They have already decided your guilt. And by calling you mentally ill, they get away with it. By calling you mentally ill, they can use that to absolve themselves from doing their jobs. Natalie never ran around saying that I fucking molested her. Never once. Not one shred of evidence to suggest that she did. Matter of fact, in her own words, that evidence shows otherwise. You thought that this was all over because they found Natalie's killer. I wasn't trying to get the police to do their jobs for an entire year before Natalie was killed because Natalie was dead. She wasn't dead yet. So obviously, her death was not the reason that I was trying to go to the cops for help for a whole year before she died. Obviously, there's some other reason. Obviously, if I'm telling you that I have been victimized for a whole year, obviously, I am making an effort. I am trying to do the right thing by turning in my predators the way that you tell me to. I already know this shit doesn't work. I've tried it, and I've seen many other people try it. It only works for rich people or good-looking people or people who go in together. Together. If you're a good-looking, pretty lady, they might still protect their officer. It's misrestricted some more. Now, this is stuff that I should take to the police every single time. But then again, how many calls would I have made just today? How serious would they have taken it? Especially given the fact that they are covering up for their crimes and the crimes of others. These new officers, their boss is the very same boss who committed felonies to cover for his deputies who committed felonies. And that, to some degree, does command loyalty from these new officers. They go, hey, if I fuck up, my boss will break the law so I don't get in trouble. My boss, if I harm somebody because I made a bad assumption and I commit a felony against that person, my boss is going to give me a good recommendation for a new job in a different state where I can't be pursued. And how do they know this? Because that sheriff has already done so for 3 separate officers. Scott DaCosta has done everything in his power to prevent me from having justice from the abuse that I endured at his hands and the hands of his officers. You really think that me calling those people is going to get anything done? When these cops can cut off any help that I try to get by lying to another professional, these other professionals have to listen to the cops so they don't get in trouble. They have to listen to my predators. They have to do what my predators want. Why? My predators got badges, goddamn. People start listening to me. And then these police give these same excuses that I told you they were going to use to cover up their crimes. From experience. It's from experience. I don't have some sort of crystal ball that tells me that these cops are going to do it. I have their past history with me to rely on in my decision making. Their past history, not just with myself, but also with others. The police refused to take a police report from Rory because Rory was trying to turn in someone who is influential, one of the city council members, for murdering kittens. Do you know who murders kittens? Serial killers. Serial killers murder kittens. Who else murders kittens? Nobody that I am fucking aware of. So this person is showing signs, obvious signs, of being an actual psycho, unlike me. This city council member in Chapel, Nebraska, who is exhibiting signs that show that they could possibly be a serial killer, a person who has access to a vehicle, access to a travel, and was within 200 miles. That's only about what, an hour and a half drive? 2.5 hours? The I-90 intersection there, it's not very far away. I-80 too, but I-90 has a lot of people that are missing. That city council member who murdered kittens could potentially be the person who is abducting all these people on I-90 that it's all fucking hush-hush about in the goddamn media. But the cops protected that city council member. The cops refused to take a report from Rory. And just like me, Rory was in the process of taking them some of the bitches to court. But unlike Rory, I didn't have that support. I had lip service. Lovely. I admit my sins. I admit where I fuck up. You know, a lot of the stuff that you guys pretend that I'm a bad person for doing, I did because I was things that the police were saying to me were not the truth. They say, hey, you know what? It's your fault. You deserve this because of the way that you acted. No, the way that I acted is because the cops lied to me and showed me pretty much immediately what their intent was. It could only go one of two ways. Either they're going to do their jobs or they're not. With somebody there with me in person, they might do their fucking jobs. But without somebody there in person, they're not. They abused their power to frame me for crimes that I didn't commit. And then they used their frame job to justify the crimes that they committed or to pretend that they didn't commit those crimes. They use those things to convince people not to look at the evidence. You guys can take a look at the evidence. Many of you have seen the evidence. Many of you have listened to those conversations with those witnesses. But is a judge doing that? Are the police doing that? No. The police, the only thing they're interested in is anything that they could use to try to pretend like I am a bad person for speaking out about the abuse that I endured. They are only looking for things that they can use to try to justify the crimes that they committed. You notice that every time that I try telling on Scott DaCosta for the things that he did, he makes the excuses that I told you that cops across the country make. I already told you the excuses that Scott DaCosta was going to make, but I didn't say Scott DaCosta was going to do them. I said it's police protocol nationwide. Why is that? Because Scott DaCosta had not done those things yet. Many other officers already had. I knew what to expect from Sheriff DaCosta. If he wants to keep his job, he's got to keep people in this town happy. If he's got to commit felonies to keep them happy, by all means, that's fine with him as long as he doesn't lose his job. Hell, you want me to let you and Cody Selhorst go somewhere else so that you can't be pursued? Well, shit, that's in my favor as the sheriff, because then it's fucking impossible to get you subpoenaed into court for the shit that you did and the shit that I covered for you for. Oh, yeah, I'm glad that I can sign this and say what a great officer you were. Like the cop in fucking Boulder, Waylon Lolatai's boss called him a good cop. That's right. If you abuse the most abused people in the country, you're a good cop. That's the lesson to be. The first thing they do when you try to turn in a bad cop is make excuses why they can't take your report. Then begins the intimidation if that doesn't work. If intimidation doesn't work, then they arrest you on false charges. And if you still won't give up, they will charge you with assaulting a police officer and make you a target for every single officer in America. God bless America, right? One piece of slander, you're in the hospital chain in America that is most likely to be used to victimize you. And their computer network is everywhere. It's everywhere where there's a Regional West hospital. The clinic here in Chapel, They closed down Cam's clinic. Now we have a regional West clinic. You think I'm going to go to the regional West clinic here in town? Just because you have an option doesn't mean that it's an option I have. People wanted me to spend money that I didn't have. They wanted to pretend that because they saw these GoFundMes started, they wanted to pretend that I had thousands and thousands of dollars given to me like the Bollingers did. I didn't have thousands and thousands of dollars given to me. And the money that people did donate, because they weren't my GoFundMes, they weren't mine. One of them was Candace's GoFundMe. And when I threatened to turn in Officer Beard for the things that she claimed happened, she made sure that she destroyed that. I didn't get a penny out of it. She made sure that she omitted everything that shows what she did wrong and tried to show Carmia and all of these people in this support group to help me, to try to pretend like I'm an evil person because I cursed at her for the evil shit that she did, for the way that she manipulated me and manipulated the situation, for the fact that she outright lied to me repeatedly, for the fact that she was claiming things that were happening but never came forward about those things. If you are being threatened on the internet by my predators, you do need to come forward, Candace. Star Magia typed hello. Hello. I speak out on YouTube because I need help. You guys tell me to do things that I've already done. You have no idea how many thousands of hours of work to collect evidence disappeared when I was in Washington and the cops didn't want to do their jobs to help me get my computer back. I had 2 witnesses to the theft right there. I had the officer right there. I had the thief right there. I knew exactly where he went over the fence, exactly where he came over. And guess what? 2 weeks later, or a week later, when the mall security come to me, he says, "Hey, I think I found your bag." I went over there, my computer's gone. Those little USB drives that I had full of evidence, one of them was 256 megabytes or gigabytes. It's like the biggest one that they got. It cost me fucking $70, 80 goddamn dollars at Walmart. They had one of those things where you need an employee to come over with a key to unlock it so you can pull it off, and it's in a fucking plastic box that's got a fucking theft removal thing with it, and they have to walk with you to the front counter. Yeah. My dad was too busy being a piece of shit because when I went up there before to get his help, he was abusive as all fuck. Treated me completely like shit. All I want to do is see my loved ones. I'm not talking about people who I love that are fucking shitty to me, like my dad. I'm talking about the people that I love who are good to me, that I can't see, because I will get abused by the police. I will get abused by the public. I will get abused by people who claimed that I was family and claimed that I was their friend, who stabbed me in the back for my predators. I get it. You want to be friends with them still. And you're willing to allow me to be punished for the rest of my life because you want to be friends with a piece of shit like that. Star Magia type, do you go through all this shit to expose the evil people in power? No. It's not to expose the evil people in power. It's to fucking stop them. It's to stop the victimization of the homeless and those called mentally ill. Most of the black people who were murdered by cops last year were either called mentally ill, were either disabled or homeless. Most of the black people. How do I know this? Because almost half of those killed by police last year were homeless, and over half of those killed by police last year were disabled. When your disabilities are used, those disabilities are literally vulnerabilities. And when people take advantage of those vulnerabilities, they are breaking the law. That is how the law is written. Each and every one of these officers who took part in this, each and every one of these web sleuths who took part in this, each and every one of these news stations who took part in this broke the law. But the law on paper only matters if you care, and people want their scapegoat, and you're not going to do anything about it. Starmasia type, how did it get to this? That's what all these videos are about. Starmasia type, you're a tough man for working so hard to stop them. No one listens till it's too late or too much to hide under the rug. Exactly. A lot of people told me, hey, you should have come to me sooner. These attorneys and such. I said, hey, you should have come to me sooner. It's already too complicated to help you. You know, they use this jurisdiction thing to its highest effect. We can't help you at this point. You need your witnesses to come forward. We can't help you because, according to the law, you don't have any rights without a guardian present. In the state of Colorado, any family member present may act as your guardian if you are considered disabled. A lot of y'all are going to tell me that I'm not trying to get help because you got help. But then again, you weren't accused of the things that I was. You didn't have it blasted all over the fucking world. You don't have people everywhere that you go harming you for this. And by your own admission, you had family help. They won't do their job for someone who is called mentally ill without a guardian present. That is not a joke. Those rights that you keep telling me that I have, those are not rights that somebody has when they're called mentally ill. Telling me that that's an excuse doesn't change the fact that it is written into law that those rights that you have, I am denied. Those things that are unconstitutional to do to you, it is entirely legal to do to me because somebody called me mentally ill. Darren O'Connor, at the very beginning, he could have helped me, and he said he was gonna. He just didn't. He had every excuse for not keeping his word. See, because of the prestige that he was seeking, he couldn't keep his word. He didn't care about the truth or doing the right thing. He cared about his prestige, his standing in the community. He loves that people will put the things that he wrote, these articles, in the Daily Camera. Why do they do that? But they won't do that for a homeless person. Darren O'Connor does not represent the homeless in Boulder. He does not protect the homeless in Boulder. He protects his own ego. This is a man. Now, let me explain to you. If you know a guitar player, then you know someone who is all ego. If you play music for the music, you'll play the drums. If all you care about is vagina, you'll play the guitar. You want to be the lead singer because you want the attention. You want the prestige. Here's a guy who's he's probably got to be in his mid-50s by now. He's pretty old. It's kind of a little bit of a belly, but he still thinks he's sexy. So he's got his YouTube channel, right? Where he sings these fucking covers of other people's songs, looking like a fucking midlife goddamn crisis. He doesn't give a fuck about the homeless. And a lot of the homeless in Boulder, Colorado have realized this. There's a lot of homeless people that are not happy with Darren O'Connor. He knew that in multiple occasions where he tried painting it off in Boulder Rights Watch, this is supposed to be for homeless people who are being abused. That's specifically the group that it was created for, the homeless. And here he is. He's got 3 different minorities who are all abused by the Boulder Police Department. All of them literally abused by the same officer who abused me, Waylon Lolatai. All of them. And he's using this platform for the homeless, where he's ignoring the crimes against me, and then he's pretending that these other people were targeted for their skin color. Why was he ignoring me? Because ignoring me made it so that he could continue to pretend it was about skin color. And he himself, in conversations that are recorded and here on YouTube, he admits that. Yeah. With Miss Tabby. It's recorded in our conversations here on YouTube that I did pay her rent, that I did buy the pot and buy the booze, or at least pay for it, that I did contribute food and clean the house. And she admits to all of those things. Her very own human voice, not a dub over, not me reading what she wrote, but her actually saying these things, recorded audio, so that I can show the truth. Miss Peaches, when she got a hold of me to treat me completely like shit for the fucked up shit that she did, for protecting my fucking predators and helping my predators, you know what she had to say? Here's what she had to say about Tabby. Tabby said that I didn't pay rent, that I didn't help around the house, that I didn't clean. And then she got hateful and spiteful and fucking blocked me. So she never looked at the evidence that Tabby fucking lied out her ass. She just wanted someone to treat like shit at that point. At that point, she wanted to wash her hands because she hadn't kept her word. But she doesn't want people to judge her for that. She doesn't want people to judge her for the fact that I was harmed for years on end because she just simply was too goddamn lazy. It's difficult to get someone who promised to go talk to the police to actually go talk to the police when they're too busy selling fucking drugs. That's fucking impossible. Brett Roloff told me he'd go in and talk to the police with me, and he never did. But why would he? He's fucking strung out on fucking meth and starting fights with his girlfriend all day. And if he's not starting them, she's starting them. They're both fucking strung out on this shit. And Shannon Alvarado's similar fucking story, but it's booze. Starmasia type police only want to go with what fits their narrative. I can't believe how many people in your life preferred to ignore you out of fear of tarnishing their pretty reputation. There's a lot of words in there that I recognize because I use. You're absolutely right about the narrative. You tell the right lie and it makes it okay. You just have to know what lies make it okay. If you steal $30,000 from your ex-boyfriend, all you got to do is say, "I'm afraid he's going to kill me." Well, what reason could he have for killing you? Could it happen to do with the $30,000 you stole from it? No, of course not. You're not going to say that. You're afraid that your ex-boyfriend or husband or whatever is going to come kill you for the $30,000 that you stole from him. So then you lie and you say that he raped you or beat you. Even if it means that you got to fucking hit yourself. Like Mark Wahlberg in that movie where he plays a fucking psycho. You just hit yourself a whole bunch. And then tell your girlfriend that her dad hit you. And that's not to say that most women went through this. There are a lot of women who are not that fucking sick and twisted. Most women are not that sick and twisted. But the ones that are, you help them out because they're female. You assume that they're telling the truth because they're female. Kind of like that girl in that movie where Alicia Silverstone plays this psycho girl who she's got a crush on this dude, and this dude's got a girlfriend. He's a grown ass adult, and she's underage. So what does she do? She pulls a used condom out of his garbage can, turns it inside out, and stuffs it inside of herself. Yeah. But I know women who are psycho enough to go to those kind of extremes. I don't know a single man who would go to those kind of extremes. I don't. Because I tried to get help. The fact that I tried to get help was used to pretend that I was a stalker. You know how fucked up that is? Starmasia typed, your friends really suck, and then our words must be similar because I've been around the same shitty people but different places. Police use bad laws as their excuses for doing these things. This law is immoral, but it's still a law, so I can abuse it if I want to, and there's nothing you can do about it. Those of you who say, well, it's illegal, it's illegal. It was illegal when people did it to me first, and nobody did a damn thing. Slavery was legal. If it's illegal for me, after enduring these people doing it to me for years, if it's illegal for me after those years to do it back just once, then it was just as wrong. Every single one of these people did it to me. Or at least that's the way that it's supposed to be, right? That's what equality is supposed to mean, right? Did you like how I said koala? Hey, look at a lot of the situations where people are making excuses. See, the cops pretended that I had a weapon and I didn't. That was the assault by Will and Lolatai. They pretended that I had a weapon. I was in fucking handcuffs, face down, when he began his assault against me. Mm. Hot damn, it was fun, wasn't it? Stormasia typed, I'm not conventionally attractive, and I'm sure that played a part in the cops not wanting to listen to me and treated me like my assault was not real. Yeah, very much so. There's also the fact that they call you mentally ill, and it makes it okay. Did they call you mentally ill? And yes, your looks do play an important part in that. If the supermodel doesn't get the dude to have sex with her that she wants, she's a supermodel. She is not used to rejection, and she is very, very likely to go fucking psycho on you just because she's pretty. If she wants to take a condom and insert it inside out, and then go into the police station and say that you did something, well, you're going to prison. I'm sorry, she's pretty. But if you are actually raped and you go into the cop shop and you're fucking hysterical, I mean, you have been through hell. And hysterical isn't the word that fits, but it's the word that people use. But then you look at the definition of hysterical and you realize you can't say, I was hysterical because I was raped. Look up the word hysteria, and then you will understand why that's not the word that you want to use. You understand why, if you use that word, it's going to be used to twist and manipulate your intent. It doesn't matter what you meant. You use that word out of context. And then there's legal context. A lot of these words that you think you know what they mean, because in the dictionary, this is what it's defined as, but then the law defines it entirely different. And that gets confusing. That's right, Starmasia. Your assault didn't happen. You are not pretty enough for rights in the United States. You're not rich enough for rights in the United States. You know, if you had enough money for plastic surgery, then you earned the rights. You bought a new face. So now you deserve the right to be treated like a human being. Maybe we should start a campaign to get Star a new face so that she can have rights. So that she can be pretty enough to be heard when she is abused. So that she will be pretty enough not to be pushed aside as if she deserved it or it never happened. Let's help Star to become someone who is worthy of you giving a shit. Can we do that? Can we start a campaign so that we can turn all rape victims into supermodels? Can we do that? I'm not just talking about female victims, I'm talking about male victims too. By all means, if chopping off my penis, implanting breasts, and getting the face of a supermodel, if that's what it takes to stop the abuse against me and against many others like me, yeah, I'm fine with it. You know, before Natalie died, I had had so many people abuse me as if I was some sort of a sexual predator when Natalie never once said anything like that. I said, you know what? I've said it before and I've said it again. I don't want my penis. I don't use it. It is for pissing. I could have just a hole in the front and I would be fucking fine with that. It's not that my penis isn't functional other ways. It's that I don't give a shit about sex. You guys have so thrown me off about sex that I literally do not want my genitalia. I am tired of predators using the fact that I have genitalia to pretend like I must be the bad guy, to pretend like it must be about sex. If I don't have a dick, you can't pretend it's about sex. You can no longer use that as an excuse to victimize me or to pretend that I am a predator. You can no longer use the fact that I have a penis to pretend that I'm mad at you because I didn't get your vagina. People go, oh, he doesn't have a penis. He doesn't have balls. There must be some other reason than sex. But while I have those things, most of you will never get past my penis. I have a penis, I must be wrong. I have a penis, I must be a predator. You're dating your predator and treating me like I'm the one that beat you. You went back to the dude who you begged me for help getting safe from because he's gonna kill me. Look at the situation with Amy Spencer. She's back with Josh. After that night, she was so messed out of her fucking goddamn gourd, and that conversation is recorded on here. She was messed out of her gourd, screaming, he's gonna fucking kill me, screaming for fucking help. And I went to help her. I did the right thing. And guess what? She's back with Josh. She can either choose Josh and his meth or her kids. And she has shown repeatedly that she doesn't give a fuck about her kids. It's just lip service. The hell that she put me and Rihanna through. Obviously, nobody on fucking planet Earth at that point in time, especially not Amy, who was aware of both situations, nobody in their right fucking mind is going to drop their kids off with an alcoholic like that. She didn't even know I was there. But when she found out I was there, the first thing she started doing is bad mouthing me to her kids. I had never done Amy wrong. Ever. She said she'd help me. And did she help me? Obviously not. I didn't even know there was an issue with Amy until her kids said, my mom says I need to watch out for you. Well, young lady, you're the violent one, so I'm going to be keeping my eye on you. You need to stop hitting your sister. You need to stop hitting Rihanna. But Amy knew that Rihanna was too fucking drunk to take care of her fucking self. But she wanted to go down to Colorado and fucking party with Josh. And that conversation with the last situation with Josh, I did lie to her. I absolutely did. She wanted to know if Rihanna had said anything about Josh hitting her and the kids. She was telling me that Josh had been beating on her and the kids in that conversation that is recorded on this very fucking channel. Meanwhile, she's messed out of her gourd while she's saying this. And I just went over there not to start problems, not to try starting a fight, not to go, oh, well, I better come to this woman's rescue like fucking violent fucking idiot. No, I was just there to try to keep her safe. If he actually did try to kill her as she was screaming out loud that he was, if he actually tried to kill her, I am there to step in between her and him. If he pulls out a knife, I am there to take that fucking knife in the chest for her. When you're screaming for help, woman, look at me. Did that get your attention? When you scream for help in one of those situations and a man comes to your rescue, he is putting his life at risk for you. You can show some goddamn gratitude, Jamie Curtis. You can show some goddamn gratitude. You can show some goddamn gratitude, Amy Spencer. You can show some goddamn gratitude. Miss Jerry, same goddamn thing. Show some goddamn gratitude. Instead of pretending that these things didn't happen just because I wasn't able to do what the fuck you wanted. Starmasia typed, I was suicidal at the time and had major depression. Yeah, obviously. And they use that as an excuse. You're suicidal and you're depressed. You're being abused by someone, which is the reason that you're suicidal and depressed. I bet you they sent you to a nuthatch, didn't they? And put some fucking drugs in you, didn't they? And send you to meetings where they try to convince you that it's your fault or it never fucking happened, didn't they? Anyway, she typed, "Oh yeah, they're masters of using your own words against you. I was a minor at the time. I gave up and just had to deal with it on my own." See? My abuse started when I was a child too. The most the most people who grew up in the system that I have ever met in one place is the homeless community in America. If you are unfortunate enough to come from a poor family, you're probably going to go into the system. If your family doesn't care or they don't have the money enough to fight for you, you get dropped off at 18 years of age with nothing. No life skills, no money, no job, nothing. And you're expected to make it without the resources that nearly all of these kids from upper middle class families and rich families have. They have this springboard to help them out. And then they don't think about you. They've never had to live that. They don't know what it's like to fucking have to go hungry or to almost fucking freeze to death. So they're going to do things that are going to harm you and put you in a situation where you might freeze to death because it doesn't occur to them what that is like. You got no idea how many of my loved ones have fucking frozen to death because of bad laws and bad law enforcement. They take away our blankets. You got two choices. You can either freeze to death or you can risk 60 hours of community service and over $400 in fines for just one night. Benjamin Harvey froze to death because he didn't want to be victimized financially any longer. You can't get unhomeless when you're being victimized financially. Darmasia typed, "I'll keep my ugly face and face the tides." Yeah, I got you on that. You notice I still got my beautiful punum. You notice I ain't got no rug on top. Do you notice I don't have my beard prim and proper? Yeah, I don't need a face change either. Anyway, she typed, "I'll keep my ugly face and face the tides." I knew so many male victims abused as well. I'm not gonna lie. I see that it fucks them up more than it ever did to me. I also used to hate my genitalia for the same reasons. I hate the woman's victim mentality. I learned quickly that everything is bound to have a downside. That's why so many dudes truly believe that nice guys finish last. Women do right back to their abuser and their fix. You're right. I'm assuming you meant to type go right back to their abuser and their fix. There's a lot of people that offered to help me and promised that they would. I didn't know these people from Adam. They were people who fucking were getting all nosy when Natalie disappeared, and I wanted to believe them. I wanted to believe that they would help. You got no idea how many of them ended up being drug addicts. If I'd have known they were drug addicts, I'd have realized they're probably not going to help me. They're probably just going to be lip service. See, here's the thing about drug addicts. Nearly all drug addicts are addicts for the same reason. Between doing something when it is hopeless and trying to drown it out, Drowning it out works better because you're alone. When you're alone, nobody fucking cares. Then there's other issues, like the way that people can manipulate the law if they break the law against you. If you got, let's say, your older brothers, they decide they're going to rape you. All three of your older brothers pull a train on you, but because there are three of them, they can have you committed to a mental hospital in order to cover up their crimes. With a police officer, it only takes one. It only takes one to have you committed. That officer who got busted after 27 years on the Broomfield Police Department. 27 years. The woman that he raped was called mentally ill. Why did he choose a woman who was called mentally ill? Because it's your word versus his, and nobody is going to believe somebody who's mentally ill versus a cop. All he had to do was turn off his body camera. He just didn't turn off the camera on his car. And that's what got him fucking busted. Starmasia type, those women most definitely blamed you to save their own skin. I'm ashamed to see that this is what we've gotten to. You really truly deserve better. And I agree with you, but without a safe environment of my own where I don't have to worry about everybody else's dynamics. I mean, right now, the guy who owns this place, he's depressed as all fuck. He's in all sorts of trouble for shit that he didn't fucking do. And shit that people wanted to manipulate and pretend like it was something that it wasn't. He's in trouble because his ex got busted drunk as a skunk with 5 kids in the car. They dropped the charges against her, but then they charged him as if he's a criminal and deny him the right to his children. The other day, his babysitter came over. She's a babysitter from the state. And although she doesn't know me, she told the man who owns the place that she doesn't want to see me around here. So I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not the one who is drinking with kids in the car. But I still got to deal with the repercussions of it. Many people that I gave money to and believed that they were going to help me, when they ended up separating from their wife, or in some cases beating their wives, I lost everything. I'm not the one who beat their wife, but because I was friends with him, now she just assumes that I'm going to be on his side because I have a penis. I'm automatically going to be on his side because I've known him longer. No, I'm not on his side. He beat the fuck out of you and you didn't deserve that. But I also didn't deserve for you to take it out on me and my property. I paid rent to have my stuff in your fucking driveway beyond the fence. I paid money for that area. I collected that metal so that I could make the molds that I needed to make the things that I was trying to make that you thought were a great idea. And you told me, hey, Sean, when you get the first one built, I want to buy it. Me and my husband will go out kayaking. I really, truly, and honestly thought that you were both my friends. A lot of people were afraid to come forward and tell the truth because they didn't want to be retaliated against. But then they wanted to hate me for telling the truth. What's the difference between them and I? They have family who cares about them. They're not dealing with the mentally ill tag. They're not dealing with homelessness or how the police treat you in that fashion. When Officer Michael Beard came to intimidate Candace, not once but twice, yeah, she was fucking scared shitless. She wanted me to disappear immediately. She was threatened to be thrown out in the snow in the middle of January, or beginning of January. No, it was the middle of January. It was fucking cold. It was below zero. And she's being told that if she doesn't get rid of me immediately, her and her daughter's gotta fucking be gone in 3 days. Is that my choice? Is it my choice that the police repeatedly separated me from the people who were trying to help me? Is it my fault that the police repeatedly threatened, harassed, and intimidated people who are trying to help? Is it my fault that police who weren't even in the same jurisdiction broke the law to cover for officers and for the volunteers in these situations? Is that my fault? The police were trying to do everything that they could, coordinating with the volunteers through that entire time to try to create a scenario that they could manipulate into something it wasn't. I was afraid of Rochelle Shelley Campbell's safety because of the actions and the words of Rochelle Shelley Campbell. Not because I was paranoid, because I'm schizophrenic or bipolar or mentally ill or whatever the fuck else kind of label you want to put on it. But you put those labels on it and you don't get to look at any of that evidence, do you? They're not going to let that in court. The police aren't going to take a look. Starmasia typed, I didn't need the system to fuck me up. I had my relatives for that. And well, the school system, your beard is awesome. Thank you about the beard. You know, the way that you got fucked up is how most people get fucked up. Family. You're most likely to get raped by your dad first. 80% of the time, when a child is molested, it's one parent or the other. There's an additional percentage that is relatives, and then an additional percentage that is people who you know. And then there's the 1% that everybody's paranoid about, while ignoring 80% of the sexual crimes. But we gotta harm innocent people because 1% of crimes are committed by a stranger. And all homeless people are strangers. All homeless people must be rapists. No, your dad's a rapist, and you take it out on homeless people. That's not homeless people's fault. But then you tell them that they chose to be homeless. And that is your justification for victimizing them. It's okay for you to victimize them for being homeless because they chose to be homeless. Or they chose not to get a job. That's a funny one. I had a job almost the entire time I was homeless. I just didn't earn enough money to get unfucking homeless. It's hard to do, especially when you don't have a good place to hide. When you don't have a place to just lay down your head and go to sleep and not feel like you're going to get in trouble for doing it. This guy at the north end of town, I do have to feel like I'm going to get in trouble every time that Sandy Fromm throws a goddamn tantrum. Because although he bitches about her for hours a day, he doesn't do anything about her. She continues to come back. Instead of doing something about the things that he's bitching at me about, he is continually bitching at me about it. How about stop bitching at me about it? If it's not bothering you, then why are you venting to me for an hour and a half a day? Why are you still talking about it? That one, this one, type 2 is present. There's only 3 people watching it. And by the way, it's almost 3 hours long of a video now. People say, why didn't you show this in court? I tried. I was denied. That's why I show it here. People say, if you didn't show it on the internet, if you didn't show it on Facebook, if you didn't show it on YouTube. No, I'm not being abused for showing the truth. I'm showing the truth because I was being abused. Completely different. You look at the timeline, you realize that. You look at how many people threatened my life and assaulted me in between when I left Virginia in October of 2016 and August of 2018. Look at how much abuse that I went through before I threatened those predators back. Look at how many times that I had been denied by the police. Look at how many people that I had gone to for help, how many phone calls to professionals I had made, how many meetings with therapists that I had gone to, how many suggestions from these people that I had jumped through these hoops because they're telling me that's what I need to do to get help. These people are telling me the same things that they told me before Natalie was killed. And it didn't work before Natalie was killed. And after Natalie was killed, all of those resources were taken from me. And then you pretend that because I exhibit signs of trauma from the extreme quantity of abuse that I've been going through, you pretend that I am a crazy schizophrenic nutball who just wants to hurt people. Meanwhile, you want to pretend that I'm trying to kill people because I had a water pistol that cost 88 cents with jalapeno juice in it because I didn't have the money to afford a fucking pepper spray. This pepper spray was less than $10 at Cabela's. Less than $10. Do you know why I was able to get that fucking squirt gun? And the jalapeno juice. I did not have enough money to get both. Thank goodness I had a food stamp card at the time that did work. That one, this one type, Sean, still got your place? No, I haven't had my place in months. I have not had my place in a good long while. That's why I spent so long not making videos or only making a few when I was able to sneak to somewhere that I might have internet access. See, that's the thing. The whole time that I'm not able to communicate, that I'm not able to document what's going on, you guys have no clue what's going on at that point. You guys got no idea about the abuse that I've endured in the last 2 months because for the most majority of it, I haven't been able to tell you. I got probably 200 hours worth of recordings, maybe 300 or 400 hours worth of recordings, but they're on a audio drive. So basically, the only way that I know of to make that work is to play the audio device on one computer and record it with this one, and basically wait until the whole thing is done going through. I have to listen to the whole thing. It'd be nice if it wasn't stuck on an audio file, but I'm glad it's an audio file. Most of the places that abused me did not have audio anything. Their body cameras did, but they denied the use of those body cameras. The situation with Whale and Lolatai, the body cameras were never released to my public pretender, and my public pretender didn't fight for them. When they realized that I was after the body cameras because I knew the narrative that they were going to sell without the fucking body cameras, they were going to sell whatever narrative that they wanted. The body cameras have audio on it. So the body cameras showed that the fucking cops lied. And the DA, if the DA would have watched that, would have realized that. I wasn't flipping out for no reason. I wasn't having a hallucination and a fucking psychotic episode as a result of hallucinations. Those police officers had repeatedly betrayed my trust just that night. Same as the police in Natalie's case had betrayed my trust repeatedly. Meanwhile, the Boulder and Broomfield police were working together to try to frame me. I gave them everything that I had outright, and they refused to take the majority of it, refused to even look, refused to acknowledge that I could possibly be a victim. You want me to continue going to cops who repeatedly fucking lied to me and then abused me? Cops who repeatedly told me they would take my report and look at the evidence, and then what they do? They threw away my fucking reports or made excuses why they can't look at the evidence. Well, you have to send it over the internet. I came in person because I tried sending it over the internet. It didn't fucking work. Now, why did I try it over the internet? I tried it on the internet because when I went in person, I was abused. No matter what I do, it's wrong. You tell me you just need to look out for yourself, Sean. Well, I'm trying to protect myself, and you call me selfish for that. Also, I'm not the only person I'm trying to protect. These people who kept on calling me selfless, like Mandy Hughes and Shannon Alvarado, kept on calling me selfless. But then when they did fucked up shit that had such an impact on my life, they wanted to call me selfish. You want to call me selfish for caring about my loved ones. And you want to call me selfish for looking out for myself like you told me to. Starmasia type. That's why I've tried so hard to keep from unnecessary trouble. I don't ask for help, but I do give what little help I can give. But I won't stick my neck out for people who I know will leave me hanging. That's the thing with a lot of these people. They'd left me hanging in the past, but I had no other options. The ones who had never left me hanging were all complete strangers that I had to trust because I already knew that the people that I was going to try to get help, chances are pretty good that they're just going to leave me hanging. Chances are pretty good that they're filling me full of shit. That's why I recorded it. And they want to be pissed off at me like I'm a bad guy because I recorded the truth and posted it up for the world to see. That one, this one typed hi star. Star Magia typed, we used to stay in a car for a while, but that was at least somewhere to stay that wasn't on the street. Keep doing what you're doing. This will blow up in their face one day, not unless people do something about it. Kind of like with Whale and Lolatai. Whale and Lolatai assaulted a lot of people, but because of the slander against me, those people didn't want to work together with me. They were fine with working together with the other victims, but they refused to acknowledge me as a victim. The media refused to acknowledge me as a victim. The police refused to acknowledge me as a victim. And because they outright refused, over and over again, I was victimized over and over again. See how crunchy this is. We'll find out how old it is. Oh, it's still pretty soft. It's probably from yesterday. The police typed in my paperwork that nobody would help me. Probably because, or nobody wanted to help me. Probably because of the way that I act. But then you go back and you look at these people's reasons for not going in. It's not the way that I act. It's fear of the police. It's fear of the public. It's fear of these predators who are being openly predatory. And these people saw these assholes being openly predatory. And they saw the police doing nothing. So yeah, they were afraid to come forward. Is that my fault? Is that my choice? Meanwhile, you want to tell me I chose it? The only thing that I needed to blow this whole goddamn thing open was one person who cared enough to sit down and look at the evidence and then go in with me and verify that it exists. They're not going to listen to me. They're going to call me mentally ill and give me the mentally ill treatment. You going in with me is the only thing that would have helped. And then you pretend I'm the bad guy because I speak out, because I tell the truth. You pretended that you loved me, and then you helped my predators get away with it.